The broadcast went out across the stars, grainy, damaged, and soaked in the aftermath of a tragedy the galaxy had only whispered about. Earth's flag hung behind the spokesperson, torn, scorched, and silent. Then the human voice finally spoke. We offered peace. We offered patience. We offered every chance to avoid this. A pause, a breath, a shift in tone that made entire councils freeze. But after what you did, civilized war is over. From this moment on, you face humanity without limits. Across the galaxy, sensors detected engines, igniting thousands of them, each one human, and every species watching understood. One thing, the massacre wasn't the end. It was the warning, the fall of innocence. For 2.5 centuries, humanity had been the galaxy's conscience. While other species expanded through conquest and intimidation, humans expanded through connection. They built theaters on distant worlds. They composed symphonies that blended alien instruments with Earth harmonies. They established art galleries that displayed creativity from 1,000 different cultures. The Galactic Union had never seen anything like them. Most species thought humans were naive. Some thought them foolish. A few thought them weak. But everyone agreed that humans made the galaxy more beautiful. Their cities were architectural marvels that respected local aesthetics while adding human touches. Their diplomats learned not just languages but poetry and song. Their scientists shared discoveries freely. Believing knowledge belonged to everyone, the Meridian Arts Colony represented everything humanity had achieved. Located in neutral space between 12 different civilizations, Meridian was neither military base nor trade hub. It was something unprecedented, a world dedicated entirely to culture and learning. 4.7 million humans lived there, alongside 2 million aliens from 43 different species. They studied together, created together, and built something unique in galactic history. The colony contained the Grand Museum, which held original works from every known civilization. The Harmony Institute taught music that could be performed by species with entirely different auditory systems. The Universal Library translated literature into 317 languages. Children of dozens of species played together in parks where sculptures from across the galaxy stood beneath. Earth trees and alien flora. Dr. Sarah Chun had spent 30 years building Meridian's cultural exchange program. She was 62 years old with silver hair and eyes that crinkled when she smiled. She spoke 14 languages fluently and could discuss art, theory with scholars from species that saw in wavelengths humans could not perceive. She had dedicated her life to proving that understanding between species was not just possible, but essential. Sarah believed in humanity's mission absolutely. She believed that art could bridge any gap. She believed that when species truly understood each other's stories, war became unthinkable. She believed that Meridian was the future of galactic civilization. The Volcran. Hegemony had watched humanity's cultural expansion with growing contempt. The Volcran were conquerors. They had built their empire through force over 6,000 years. They believed power came from fear and strength came from violence. When they looked at humanity's peaceful colonies and cultural programs, they saw targets. The Velcron War Council made their decision during a secret session. They would not strike Earth directly. That might unite too many species against them. Instead, they would destroy humanity's spirit by destroying what humans valued most. They chose Meridian Arts Colony. The attack came during the festival of shared stories, when the colony celebrated galactic diversity with performances, exhibitions, and readings. The skies were full of colorful displays when Velcron warships emerged from faster-than-light travel directly above the colony. There was no warning, no declaration, no chance to evacuate. The bombardment lasted 6 hours. Velcron ground forces followed, systematic and merciless. They destroyed the Grand Museum first, reducing irreplaceable art from 100 civilizations to ash. They burned the libraries, erasing original manuscripts that could never be replaced. They shattered the concert halls, mid-performance, killing musicians and audiences together. They did not distinguish between human and alien, adult and child. Artist and teacher Sarah Chen was giving a lecture on comparative mythology when the attack began. She gathered 200 students and faculty in the museum's reinforced archive section. She tried to contact Earth, tried to reach the Galactic Union, tried to call for help from anyone. All communications were jammed. Meridian was alone. As Velcron soldiers approached the archive, Sarah made a choice. She could hide and perhaps survive a few hours longer. She could beg for mercy she knew would not come. Or she could be human until the very end. She walked to the archive's main hall where holographic displays showed art from across the galaxy. She activated them all. Light filled the room with images of beauty from 1,000 worlds. Paintings, sculptures, dances, architectural wonders. She began describing them to her students, her voice steady and clear. "This is what matters," she said. "Not the violence outside. Not the fear. This beauty, this connection between species, this proof that we can understand each other. This is what will survive." When the Velcron soldiers entered, they found an elderly woman standing before images of galactic art, speaking about hope and understanding while her world burned. They did not comprehend. They could not comprehend. Sarah Chun's last words were recorded by the archive's security systems. "We chose to be cultured. We chose to believe in beauty. Remember that we chose this. Remember what we valued." The soldiers killed her. They killed everyone hiding in the archives. They destroyed the holographic displays. Then they left, broadcasting recordings of the massacre across the galaxy. They wanted every species to see what happened to civilizations that valued culture over power. The news reached Earth 14 hours later. Humanity watched in complete silence as Meridian died. They saw their museums burning. They saw their libraries in ruins. They saw 4.7 million of their people erased. They saw Sarah Chun's final moments, her voice speaking of beauty and hope while surrounded by destruction. The galaxy expected humanity to weep. They expected protests at the Galactic Union. They expected desperate calls for justice. They expected the poets to write sad verses and the artists to create memorials to the fallen. For 28 days, humanity said nothing at all. No human ship left port. No human ambassador answered communications. The cultural exchange programs went silent. The art exhibitions closed. The concert tours stopped. Humanity retreated into itself completely. In the Galactic Union chambers, the Velcron ambassador laughed openly. "The humans finally understand their place," he announced. "Let this be a lesson to all species who value words over weapons." But the oldest species in the Union did not laugh. They watched human space with growing concern. Something was happening behind that silence. Something that made their ancient instincts scream warnings. The awakening deep beneath Earth's surface, in facilities that had been sealed for 247 years. Lights flickered on for the first time in centuries. The air was cold and stale, but the machinery still functioned. It had been built to last forever. Fleet Admiral James Morrison walked through these forgotten chambers with a heavy heart. He was 70 years old and had spent his entire career converting weapons into tools of peace. He had personally supervised the decommissioning of humanity's war fleet. He had written papers about how humans had evolved beyond violence. He had believed every word. Now he stood before sealed vaults containing technology from humanity's dark age. Before the Cultural Revolution, humans had been very good at destruction. Not just good, the best the galaxy had ever produced. They had developed weapons so terrifying that they had frightened themselves into choosing a different path. The Cultural Revolution had not happened because humans became weak. It happened because humans looked at what they were capable of and chose to be better. They sealed away their weapons. They forbade the teaching of certain technologies. They rebuilt their entire civilization around art and culture because they were terrified of what they might become if they did not. Admiral Morrison placed his hand on a scanner before the main vault. A voice from 2 centuries past spoke. Authorization required. Warning. Contents were sealed by unanimous vote of United Earth. Opening requires proof of existential threat. The Velcron hegemony has massacred Meridian Arts Colony, Morrison said quietly. 4.7 million civilians dead. They have announced intention to strike other cultural centers. They seek to destroy human civilization through cultural genocide. The Vault considered his words. Then, do you authorize recovery of sealed military archives, understanding that such technology could result in complete species termination? Morrison closed his eyes. He remembered Sarah Chen's final words. He remembered children burning in museums. He remembered 2.5 centuries of choosing to be better. I authorize recovery, he said, but not for revenge. For protection. For ensuring this never happens again. The vault opened. Cold air rushed out, carrying the smell of preserved machinery and forgotten nightmares. 4 weeks after Meridian fell, Admiral Morrison stood before the United Earth Council. Every seat was filled. Every human colony walked through secured channels. This was the most important decision humanity had made in 247 years. Morrison activated holographic displays. Ships appeared that the modern galaxy had never seen. Weapons that bent physics. Strategies that read like extinction protocols. For 2 centuries, we chose culture, Morrison said. We looked at our capacity for violence and chose to create instead. We sealed our weapons. We forgot our strategies. We converted our warships into university vessels. He paused, looking at faces filled with grief and rage. We did this because we wanted to believe the galaxy was good. We wanted to prove that culture was stronger than violence. We wanted to show that civilization meant choosing beauty over brutality. He changed the display. Meridian appeared. The burning museums. The destroyed libraries. Sarah Chun's final moments. The Velcron taught us we were wrong. Not about the value of culture, but about thinking culture alone was enough. We learned that some species only understand power. We learned that beauty without protection is just an invitation for destruction. He deactivated display. I am not asking you to abandon our values. I am asking you to remember that we are capable of protecting those values. I am asking you to authorize recovery of our sealed technologies, not to become destroyers again, but to ensure that those who value destruction understand the consequences of threatening those who value creation. The vote was unanimous. Within days, shipyards across human space roared to life. Ships that had been stored for centuries were brought out of preservation. Scientists who had studied only peaceful applications opened forbidden archives. Engineers who had never built weapons began remembering old lessons. The galaxy noticed. Human space, silent for weeks, suddenly blazed with activity. Ships were being built at impossible speeds. Weapons were being forged. Something ancient was awakening, the Velcron noticed too, but they were not concerned. They had studied human history. Humans had deliberately forgotten how to fight. It would take them decades to become a threat. The Velcron sent their second fleet toward another human cultural center. They wanted to teach the lesson again. The fleet never arrived. 347. Velcron warships entered a region called the Starless Gulf. They vanished completely. No distress calls. No debris. No survivors. The Velcron sent scouts. The scouts vanished too. A third Velcron fleet, larger and more careful, attempted a different route. Their last transmission showed human ships unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Sleek and dark, moving with impossible coordination, striking from angles that should not exist. Then silence. Across the galaxy. Species watched with growing horror as the Velcron hegemony was systematically dismantled. Human fleets appeared without warning and vanished without trace. Velcron military installations were destroyed with surgical precision. Supply lines were cut. Communication networks shattered. The Velcron War Council finally understood their mistake. They tried to negotiate. They sent white flags and peace offerings. The human ships destroyed them anyway. Not with anger. Not with passion. With the cold efficiency of a task being completed. In 42 days. The Velcron hegemony ceased to exist. The Galactic Union called an emergency session. Admiral Morrison appeared before them. The chamber was silent as death. For 247 years, we chose to be cultured, Morrison said. We still choose culture. We will rebuild our museums. We will reopen our libraries. We will continue teaching art and music and literature. He looked across the assembly of species. But we will never again pretend that culture alone is enough. We will never again seal away our ability to protect what we value. We will never again give predators the chance to mistake our civilization for weakness. His voice remained calm, almost gentle. Choose friendship with humanity. Be our partners in creation. We will share everything we have. Our art, our knowledge, our protection. He paused. But understand this. We are done being only artists. We are done being only teachers. We are artists with armor now. Teachers with teeth. Civilized people who remember what uncivilized means. The Velcron taught us this lesson. We learned it perfectly. He looked at each delegation directly. We're done being cultured without consequence. This is who we are now. The galaxy understood. In the years that followed, something remarkable happened. The galaxy became more peaceful than ever before. Not because humanity threatened anyone, but because every species looked at the empty space where the Velcron had been and made better choices. Humanity rebuilt Meridian Arts Colony. Larger, more beautiful. But now surrounded by defensive stations and protected by a fleet that could crack planets. In the center of the new Grand Museum, they placed a memorial. Sarah Chen's words, preserved forever. We chose to be cultured. Remember that we chose this. Below it, humanity added new words. We still choose culture. But we will never again choose it without the power to protect it. The galaxy had learned. Humanity had taught them. And the universe would never forget that the species who valued art most was also the species you least wanted to face in war, because humans had learned the most important lesson. Civilization was not the absence of violence. It was the choice to be peaceful when you had the power to be terrible, and humanity would always make that choice as long as you let them. The end.